Hello folks, we're back with another video here. Now of course, I just want to point out right now that at the end of filming this video, I'm filming this on Wednesday, but when this will be uploaded, it will be Thursday, aka tomorrow. So, also, for today's video, at least today in terms of uploading here, we're going to do a little review, but it's a kind of review I haven't done before. Now, of course, the Generation 8 Pokemon games come out tomorrow. Well, at least they come out tomorrow over here in North America. Some places in the world, I think like Australia, New Zealand, or whatever, I believe already have the game, mainly because of the time zone differences and such. So, Australia, New Zealand, I believe they have it already. Then, of course, other countries will eventually start getting it. But, anyway, what I want to do today is review all 7 Pokemon generations so far. Now, of course, we start off with Generation 1, which is the Kanto region. Now, these games originally released in early 1996 in Japan, and the North American release came about 2.5 years later, around the same time as the anime debuted here in North America. Because, believe it or not, the first series of Pokemon games, Gen 1, were released in Japan a year before the anime started. Because when the games first came out in 1996, the anime started in 1997. But here for North America, we got the first games as well as the anime pretty much around the same time in 1998. And now for the Gen 1 games, basically got the formula started for what would become the standard of Pokemon games, visiting 8 different cities and trying to win gym badges from those cities. These are the cities in Gen 1, of course, being, let's see, well, your starter town, of course, was Pallet Town. Then you had Viridian City, now, of course, Viridian City, which is the first city you visit in the Gen 1 games. That's the first city in Canada that has a gym. However, you can't go into it yet at that point, which is probably a good thing, because the Pokemon in that Viridian City gym, which you don't get to fight until near the end of the game, are like late level 40, early level 50, and obviously at that point your starter Pokemon plus Pokemon would only be like level 6 or level 7 or whatever, and would easily get destroyed. So, yeah. So the first city that where you can get a gym badge in Gen 1, of course, is Pewter City, which, of course, is the Boulder badge from Brock. Then, of course, is Cerulean City, which is Misty, the Cascade badge. Vermilion City is Fur with the Thunder badge. Then Erica's gym is Celadon City, of course, with the Rainbow badge. And then that's where it gets interesting, because technically at that point you could go out of order, and you could either do Sabrina's gym in Saffron 5th, or Koga's gym in Fuchsia next as the 5th gym. So like you could do Saffron and then Fuchsia, or Fuchsia and then Saffron. But either way, the Marsh and Soul badges are 5th and 6th, not necessarily in that order. Then, of course, you have the Seafoam Islands, where you can catch the legendary Articuno. Cinnabar Island, then, of course, is the next one with the Volcano badge. And then finally, back to Viridian for your Earth badge. And, of course, at that point, then you go through Victory Road, Victory 4, and become the champion. And that's pretty much the whole game. Now, there is a post-game in Gen 1, but it's kind of bare bones. Like, all the red, blue, and yellow post-game is just, it's essentially just catching Mewtwo, and that's it. as well as any other Pokemon that you don't have yet up to that point. So, a pretty decent start for Pokemon in Generation 1. I'll give that a C plus rating. The only reason it gets a C plus rating from me is because of the bare bones post game. Otherwise, it would have a higher grade. Now, Gen 2 is a bit more in depth because Gen 2, of course, would be Gold, Silver, and Crystal. Gold and Silver, of course, coming out in North America here in the year 2000, and then Crystal the year after that. And you can go through Kanto again in those games, but I'll get to that in a moment. For Gen 2, of course, there's 8 new cities and 8 new badges and 100 new Pokemon to go with the original 150 that you had in the original games. Okay, and then of course, once you become the champion there, you then get to go to Kanto and take on the and rebattle the gyms there again, and then fight Red at Mount Silver. So the Gen 2 games are pretty much split into 2 halves. So you have Johto as your main game, and then Kanto as your big post-game adventure. In my opinion, in Gen 2, I believe, for me, holds the number 1 spot as the game with the best post-game. So I will give that an A- grade. Then, of course, Gen 3, of course, everything completely changed. Now, I should mention, Team Rocket was in both the Gen 1 and Gen 2 games. Gen 3, of course, did not have Team Rocket, unless, of course, you count Jesse James from the Gen 3 anime. But in the games, you had Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, which released, I think, around 2003. And then, of course, the year after that was the Fire Red and Leaf Green games, which were remakes of the original Gen 1 games. And of course, the Gen 3 games took place in the Hoenn region. I should mention Gen 2 to this point is the only game that actually lets you explore another region in the post game. And there were rumors going around the Sword and Shield possibly allowing that, but it doesn't look like that is going to be the case, unfortunately, but that's okay. The Gen 3 games, I didn't really play when they first came out, so unfortunately I can't really go into details about that, but from what I remember from seeing videos of these of the gameplay of this particular gen on YouTube, the post-game, well, they still had the post-game, but it wasn't as big as Gen 2. I mean, you still had the legendaries, and as well as Rayquaza, and that was really about it. No really any extra story involved, so we'll give the Gen 3 games a B. Next is Gen 4, which of course consists of Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. Diamond and Pearl coming out, I think, 2006 or 2007. Yeah, I believe it's 2007. And then Platinum, of course, the year after that. And Gen 4, now while Gen 2 was pretty good, Gen 4 was even better than Gen 2. But now, a lot of people will say that Gen 4 is probably the most difficult gen to play through out of through, and I think those people, and I think they would have to agree, because I did make it, so I have made it to Elite 4 on my Diamond game as well as on my Platinum, but have not been able to beat it. So, yeah. So yeah, Gen 4 is definitely pretty difficult. But if you're able to beat the Pokemon League there in Gen 4, then obviously it's very rewarding. And then of course during the post game, there's another little extra area that opens up. So for you, where you can fight your rival again, as well as do all kinds of other stuff. Definitely an improvement from the Gen 3 post game. So I'll give Gen 4 a solid B. And then of course that was also the same generation where Heart Gold and Soul Silver came out, which of course were the remakes of Gold and Silver. Those were pretty good too. It's actually mainly the same story as the original Gen 2 games, but of course with some slight tweaks. And of course, just like in the original Gen 2 games, you have to do a lot of grinding in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, particularly when it comes time for the end game, for the end fight against Red, because his team was okay, his team in Heart Gold Soul Silver is way overpowered. Because I think I remember in the original Gold and Silver Crystal, Red's Pikachu was level 80 or something. On the remakes, it's at level 88, I think. So yeah, definitely a big difficulty spike. I'll give Gen 4 a B+. Now, after that, you had Black and White, which came out in 2011. That, of course, kicked off Gen 5. Now, that generation marked a drastic change because in all the previous games up to that point, you pretty much had the entire Pokedex available to you. While that is still technically the case for the Gen 5 games, there's one big catch. During the main story in Gen 5, the only Pokemon you have access to are the new Gen 5 Pokemon created specifically for the game. So, essentially a reboot. Now, all the older Pokemon, though, are still in this game, but you don't get access to those until the post-game. Which is a pretty good post-game, if I do say so myself. It's not bad, but it's nothing compared to Gen 2's post-game. And then, of course, the year after that was the sequels Black 2 and White 2, which of course were the final Pokemon games to come out on the regular Nintendo DS system. And not only did Black 2 and White 2 improve on the original Black and White games, but in that game they also let you access all the old Pokemon from old gens right from the very beginning of the game. And which definitely helps. And now when I played through, Black 2 I believe it was, when I played through that last summer, I didn't do that playthrough on camera, but that was the playthrough where I caught my shiny Audino, which I originally wasn't planning to use, but someone recommended me that I do use it, because good that it isn't competitive, so I decided I'd use it, and it ended up doing well for me. And, yeah. Now, Gen 6, of course, was X and Y, which was the very first Pokemon games to release on the 3DS. And by the way, there were no direct sequels or enhanced versions of the Gen 6 games following the X and Y's release. It was just X and Y, that was it. And that, of course, is the Kalos region. Gen 5 was Unova region. And a lot of things in the Gen 6 games look kind of reminiscent to what you would have seen in the Gen 1 games. Like, for example, the forest area that you can go through at the beginning of the game, even X and Y, kind of similar to Viridian Forest in the original games. Case in point, Pikachu is found in the wild in that forest in X and Y, and of course, if you remember, it can get Pikachu in Viridian Forest in red and blue. But now the post game for X and Y. Oh, where do I even begin? Yeah, the post game for X and Y pretty much non-existent. For that one, they pretty much just recycled Gen 1's post game by just having you catch Mewtwo, and that is it. Oh, aside from that, though, the main story still pretty good. So a B- for Gen 6. And then of course, while X and Y wouldn't have any direct sequels or enhanced versions, they did come out with Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire a year later, which of course were remakes of the Hoenn games, which I have played through, and they're pretty good. Now, of course, it's got the Delta episode in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire as new post-game content, which is very good. Definitely a much better post-game than what X and Y had. However, I still stand by my original grade. And then, of course, we come to Gen 7, which a lot of people say was probably the crappiest game, or the crappiest generation in the series. Those games, of course, are set in the Alola region, and there's also a bit of a change in formula in these games. Instead of fighting 8 gyms like you did in past games, you had these island trials, which is kind of hard to explain, so I won't really go into that, but I do give them credit for at least trying something different, even though a lot of people didn't like it. And then, of course, there was also Z moves in this generation. Thankfully, from what I found out, Z moves are no longer a thing in the upcoming Sword and Shield games, so thank God for that. Gen 6, of course, had Mega Evolution, which was pretty awesome. So yeah. Now, while Sun and Moon and its direct sequel that came out a year after Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, were decent games, they weren't really as good as they could have been. And plus, these were also the last Pokemon games to be released on the 3DS, so they were really pushing the hardware limits of the 3DS with this one. And then, of course, to wrap up Gen 7, there was last year's release of Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee on the Nintendo Switch. And of course, Jim's return in this game, well, that's mainly because Let's Go is a direct remake of the original games. And it's essentially Baby's first Pokemon game. It's not bad, but the thing a lot of people didn't like about it was that the catching mechanic is recycled from Let's Go, where instead of battling the Pokemon, you just catch them. There are a few exceptions, though, in this game. There are certain Pokemon in Let's Go, i.e. Snorlax, the legendary birds, and Mewtwo, that you actually do have to battle and defeat before you can catch them. How to catch, though, for those is you are on a time limit. Specifically a 5-minute time limit. So if you don't defeat those particular Pokemon within 5 minutes, then yeah, the battle's over and they'll flee. At least with Snorlax, you get 2 chances at him, but for Mewtwo as well as the legendary birds, you can only get them once, I do believe. So make sure you save before encountering those legendaries. That'll really help you. So, Gen 7, decent, but again, could have been better. I have to give it a D. So, yeah, those are my grades for all the different Pokemon generations going up to this point. So, as you can probably tell by these grades, I've given Generation 7 was pretty much the worst of the bunch. But you know what? A D is better than an F, right? I'm hoping that Gen 8 will at least improve on Gen 7, but we are going to have to see. And speaking of Gen 8, by the way, I am going to be going down to EB Games tonight for their midnight launch event that they're in for Sword and Shield, which means I can pick up my copy early. And then, of course, the first episode of my Sword and Shield playthrough will come your way tomorrow. Now, how I'm going to work this is, I'm going to be uploading one episode per day for my Sword and Shield LP, but it's not going to be daily. Like, I know with Let's Go Pikachu and my LP of Pokemon Blue, those were essentially daily uploads. For Sword and Shield, I'm going to be handling this a bit differently. I'm going to be uploading on a Monday to Friday schedule for Sword and Shield, with one minor exception. The first, seeing how the game comes out tomorrow, I'm going to be releasing the first 3 episodes, one per day, on all 3 days of the game's opening weekend. Tomorrow, Saturday, November 16th, and Sunday, November 17th, just to build up hype and interest in these titles. Starting with episode 4, however, we are going to be going on a Monday to Friday schedule. And, of course, starting with this particular Pokemon LP, there's going to be a new feature, which I will explain about in the LP when we start off with that on Friday. Now, I'm definitely excited to see what the Galar region has to offer me in my playthrough of this, and I hope you folks will be excited for it as well. So hopefully you'll join me for my playthrough of the Galar region starting tomorrow, because I'm definitely looking forward to it. We'll see you then, folks. Bye-bye.